Hello, this is Byron with DragonBlogger.com. Today we're going to talk about the sound-based 450 home theater system from SVOX, or ZVOX, excuse me. It is essentially a sound bar that you set your TV on. Most sound bars are a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner. You actually put under your TV. In this case, as a result of the number of speakers and what I think adds to the sound quality, they've made it a little wider, a little deeper. Stands probably a little less than a lot of your sound bars, just the way they have the speakers configured. So their ideal situation is to set your TV, somewhere between a 36-inch and maybe a 50-inch, I think is the range, on top of the SoundBase system. Actually have a 55-inch downstairs and had everything plugged in, had everything working. But as a result of not being able to sit it right under the TV and off to the right, the sound was a little off-putting in a sense, because you're hearing the sound from one place and your visual was looking at the TV. So I didn't think that was a prime location in order to do a proper review of the SoundBase 450 home theater system. So I went ahead and I brought it upstairs, and I've got it in my room. I got a Sharp 42-inch LCD TV up here, and got everything all plugged in and hooked up. And I have the TV sitting right on top, just as they recommend. With it right under the TV, audio and visually, everything just makes a lot more sense. Everything's in line. So it actually improved my opinion. With the sound off a little bit, it was a little distracting, so I can't say I had a negative opinion about the sound. The sound was good. It was just a little off-putting again, because the sound was off to down and off to the right, and the TV was up above a fireplace is how I have that mounted. All right, so with the SoundBase 450 home theater system, you got a optical cable that you can plug into the back of your TV. There's two analog, your standard red and white analog channels that you can plug into your TV. It also has another digital mini jack or digital out that you can plug in, which then goes into an analog. Or you actually have a digital out. It's almost like a little coax cable that you can plug into the back of your TV. And you can also plug right into the back of your into the back of the SoundBase 450 theater system. Setup, really quick, really easy. Really, you just got to make a decision on what your TV is capable of supporting in reference to how you're going to plug it into the Soundbox or SoundBase 450 home theater system. Then you got to figure out, obviously, can you put your TV right on top of it, as they recommend? And then you just plug it in. I erroneously plugged it into a couple of the input audio and had a couple things that I had problems with. That was more a product of not really looking at the back of the TV and paying attention to outputs and inputs. So that was my error, not the error of SoundBase system. Got it all set up, plugged in, got it turned on. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Right-hand corner, you can see that it's turned on. You have a few different input options. So you do have the option to stream to the SoundBase 450 home theater system. So in my case, I did my iPhone. I have an iPhone 5S. I did a Nexus 7, and my wife has a Galaxy S5. Paired all three of them at different times to the SoundBase system. Everything paired pretty quickly. It's pretty much look for it, connect to it, start playing to it. I mean, it was that straightforward. Sound quality was good. I listened to a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll, a little bit of R&B, a little bit of rap. And the sound quality was a little better than I was actually expecting, in all honesty. There was enough bass, but not too much bass. You can control the treble and the bass right from the remote control. You can control the volume, obviously, from the remote control. But everything sounded pretty clear, pretty crisp. I didn't like the AccuVoice. AccuVoice is a little system that SoundBase has added to all of their devices. I think that works a little better for TV versus the music. That just may be how I listen to music. It just focuses in on the voices that it picks up from, whether it be music or TV. And for TV, it seems to make sense for me. For music, I just didn't like the way I preferred it without the AccuVoice. So yeah, the Bluetooth is your first option. Your next option is your digital, or in this case it says in LD, or 1D, I believe it is for one digital. And that is your digital connector or your mini digital cable. That little itty bitty square piece with the little end on it that plugs into the back of your TV. And in my case, my TV doesn't have one of those, this TV upstairs. But my CenturyLink cable box does. So I plugged it right into the cable box and right into the SoundBase 450 home theater system, and everything worked fine. I mean, it was pretty much plug and play. Obviously, make sure you're on the right input. Turn the volume on the TV all the way down and just functioned everything right from the 450 or the SoundBase 450 home theater system, and everything worked great. Sound was good. You could use that AccuVoice that I spoke of earlier. Again, it just puts a little focus on the actual voices that are coming from, you know, whatever TV show you might be watching. Makes them a little bit clearer. I don't know if it dims or just makes the voices more pronounced. But like I said, I like the AccuVoice when I'm watching TV, not so much when I'm listening to music. So I turned on the AccuVoice. You may be thinking, well, why do I got to add another remote to my system? Actually, that's not really the case. Actually, it's not the case at all. You have a little infrared you can set up, like I set up my CenturyLink remote control to control the volume right on the SoundBase 450 home theater system, so I didn't have to add that. It turns on, it turns off, volume up, volume down. Once I had it hooked up, I didn't mess with the inputs unless I wanted to go from the digital input to the Bluetooth. And in all honesty, I think I used the ZVOX remote control for that. I didn't try it on my CenturyLink remote. I can't think how that would work, but it might. But like I said, setting up the remote control was easy. You hold a couple buttons, you press the volume up, and then it tells you do it again, you do it again, and then you move on to volume down, you move on to volume down, it does it, you do it twice, it verifies it, and then you do the mute button. So, I mean, everything that I would want in reference to sound or volume, I can do right from my CenturyLink. So I can turn on the TV, I can turn on the SoundBase 450 home theater system, and I turn on the little cable box. Everything lights up, everything turns on, and I'm off and running, ready to watch whatever I want to watch. So your next input that you have on your SoundBase 450 home theater system, sorry, hit power there. All right, so you have your first digital line in. So in this case, it's into A for analog. So your red and blue, and you can plug that into the digital mini jack, kind of looks like a headphone jack, or you can plug it into, depending upon the cable you use, or you have a regular analog cable, just your red and white. You plug that in the back of the TV. They also have another option. It's kind of that little coax. It almost looks like a headphone jack, but it's actually a little coax looking wire that goes from your TV into the back of the SVOX. That's actually or ZVOX, how I have it configured on this TV upstairs. I tried it with the analog and I tried it with the digital. Obviously, the digital is a little bit better. I don't have the greatest ear when it comes to sound, but you can tell a difference between the digital and the analog. And then you go to the optical cable into the actual CenturyLink box. And there's little variations. I think the sound quality improves. It's not super noticeable, but if you pay attention, and like I ran a couple shows that I had recorded, and I ran those each, and I watched the same show on each individual connection. So you have the optical digital, you have the mini jack, which goes into an analog input, and then you have the digital, which looks like little coax cables that go from the ZVOX 450 home theater system into the back of the TV. And it did incrementally get just a little bit better. So you have the mini jack that's analog, then you have your digital, looks like the little coax that just pop onto the end of the almost headphone jack looking things, and then you got the actual digital that I had in my case running from my CenturyLink, and they stepped up, not huge steps, but there were steps, there were differences. The AccuVoice seemed to work a little better when you were going in digital versus the analog. Both the digital seemed a little better than the analog. I couldn't really tell too much of a difference between the two digital versions, but you know, little variations, little improvements on each. Next on inputs, we have the inline 3. So you got one optical digital, one digital, that little coax, and then 2 analogs, and however you choose to plug, or whatever variation you choose to plug those into the back of your TV. And your Bluetooth. So Bluetooth, digital 1, analog, and then analog. So you really got those 4 different options that you can then connect your sound to, whether it be streaming or whether it be your TV. The ZVOX 450, it has the speakers mounted right to the bottom of it. I think that, in combination with sitting it on a hard device, which is another thing that I recommend. They want you to set it on something solid. In this case, I have it on a dresser. I think that amplifies the sound out through the room. Like I said, sound quality was good, whether it be streaming music or whether it be listening to the movie or watching regular TV. We streamed a couple movies via Netflix on this. I believe that's 5.1, and it sounded great. So far, it's the best thing that I've put in my house. I have a little cheap sound bar that I was using on my bigger TV downstairs, and I was really disappointed once I got this hooked up to this TV upstairs that I can't move it downstairs. I'm actually trying to figure out a way to get this on my big TV downstairs so we can actually enjoy some true, real good sound, when we're watching movies with the family or what have you downstairs in front of our 55-inch TV. I think the room is situated perfect for it. It's not too big, not too small. I think it would read the ZVOX, sorry, I keep calling it SVOX. ZVOX SoundBase 450 home theater system would be perfect for that room, perfect for that TV. So I'm working on that, trying to figure out a way to kind of get it centered under the TV. But with the TV being above a fireplace, that's a little difficult at this point. Either that, or I got to weigh, is the sound good enough to kind of deal with where it is in that bottom right hand in reference to the TV. So I'm working with that. But the point being is I like the sound on the ZVOX SoundBase 450 home theater system so much that I'm trying to make it work in my house. Being a reviewer, you get a device, you get to play with it and set it up. Sometimes you set it up, you play with it, you review it, and then, it gets put away. Sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't. Very rarely do I find a device where I'm trying to configure or reconfigure my setup to where I can use a device that I've gotten the opportunity to review. And right now, the ZVOX SoundBase 450 home theater system is in that realm. I want to find a way to make it work within my configuration, even if I have to change my configuration to some extent to make that happen. So I think some of the technical specs that I haven't really touched on here is the ZVOX. They have a lot of different models. Like I said, or have been saying, this one is the 450 model. It's about 19 pounds. It is 14 by 5 inches wide or deep. It's 27.6. Now I'm reading off the specs here. I didn't pull out the tape measure. I'm not that kind of guy. But 27.6 inches wide and 3.5 inches tall. Weighs right about 16 pounds. Again, it has the wood case. I think that helps in the way it sounds. It has 5 speakers. So 5, I'm going to call them tweeters. That might be the exact technical term, but kind of that main focus on voices and that thing. And then it has a 5.25-inch powered subwoofer, and that's all built into this case. Again, that's 14 inches wide, 27 inches long, and 3.5 inches tall. So that's impressive to me. And I think that they've built that in conjunction with where they expect you to set it or recommend that you set it, i.e. on a hard surface, and with the TV right on top of it. I think all of those things came into their thought process when they built this system. And it really, like I said, it really works well. I haven't played anything just yet. Again, I've played multiple genres of music. I've played TV shows versus Netflix versus DVD via a Blu-ray player. I didn't play any Blu-rays. I don't have any Blu-rays, but I do have a Blu-ray player. Imagine that. But all that stuff sounded really, really good. Again, I was a little surprised at how good it sounded. It worked out a lot better, sounded a lot better than I was really expecting. But like I said, it is the ZVOX SoundBase 450 home theater system. It's got the 5 speakers, including a 5.25-inch subwoofer, so you get that deep sound when you're playing the movies or watching that TV or playing that music. You have a Bluetooth input for streaming. You have a digital input, whether it be optical digital, your optical digital input. You have 2 SD or analog inputs, whether that be a digital mini jack, which then converts to analog, or your straight analog, the red and white wires. And then you have a, kind of looks like a coax, but it's that plug-in digital. They just plug in and almost looks like headphone jacks. So you have multiple options for some of the older TVs. Obviously, your newer TVs are all going to have that optical input. This one did not, unfortunately, but my CenturyLink box did. So it worked out well. I could test that out. Sounds great, whether it be TV or movies. Sounds great when it comes to music. Pairing Bluetooth was easy. You find the device, tell your device to look for the ZVOX 450. It finds it pretty quickly. It pairs pretty quickly, and you're away. Change the input to whatever you have your TV hooked up to, and it's ready to go ahead and play that movie or play that television show. So $300, excuse me, $299 on the Amazon at Amazon.com. I've seen sound bars more expensive. Obviously, you're always going to find more expensive. I have a sound bar. I think I paid $150 for it. This is easily and far and above worth twice as much as that sound bar. I would honestly consider paying the $300, having the opportunity to play with it, if I had to go out and buy it. I'm considering another one. If I can figure out a way to make this one work in my living room on my big TV, I'm seriously considering buying a second one to put in my room, because now I think watching TV in my room is going to be a little more difficult if I do end up moving this one downstairs and finding a good spot for it in front of my big TV. So that's my recommendation. I would give it an easy, I want to go 5 stars. I can't think of anything that would take me away from 5 stars. I'm just trying to be completely honest about the situation. ZVOX SoundBase 450 home theater system. Byron with DragonBlogger.com. I'm going to give it 5 stars. Really easy setup. You got multiple options. It should cover just about any TV you have in the house, whether it be brand new, you bought it for Christmas, or you've had it a few years like my TVs are. Configuring, whether it be the Bluetooth or your different connections, your analog or digital connections are easy. The real thing is you got to make sure you plug it into the back of your TV correctly. Like I said, I had a little problem with that, making sure I could read output versus input. So if you know your TV well enough and you know where all the outputs are, it should be snapped, especially with that optical cable. Sound is great. Music is great. Again, I'm only trying to find a negative because 5 stars, I think, mean a very quality system. And it's pretty hard to get 5 stars. But I think the ZVOX SoundBase 450 home theater system gets 5 stars. A good quality product. It's all wood. You got the 5 speakers plus the subwoofer. You got easy configuration, easy setup. It sounds great. And I'm happy to have it in my home, and like I said, I'm trying to get it to my main viewing TV where my whole family can enjoy it. I feel a little selfish with it in my room because I'm the one that enjoys it the most in my room. So once again, this is Byron with DragonBlogger.com, and we just finished talking about the ZVOX SoundBase 450 home theater system. Again, 5 stars. Again, easy setup, great sound. It's just a pleasure to listen to, pleasure to watch TV while playing. So, thanks again. Have a great day, and be sure to come back and check us out at DragonBlogger.com every day. We're always reviewing new things.